All protocol observed. My name is Elly Tumwine, Yatamba. And this is the son's eulogy about his father. "35 years of training, now the work begins." I'm 35 years old. I'm trained by the best commander. Now the work begins. Ooh, okay. My speech for my eulogy, I'm going to speak English. Nzagambo jungaha, nyango chapter. So that we have to benefit of knowing what my father was to me, and what he was to everyone. Who he was, Elly Tumwine. There was none like him, and there will never be any like him. And that was his belief, that everyone was unique, that everyone was special, that because everyone was different, that's what made them special. He was God's child, firm believer. He was a general of the NRA, UPDF. He was a husband of one, Jolie's husband. He was the father of many, both literally and figuratively. The brother to rely and count on, an anchor to his siblings, a friend in every time of need, an artist and designer, a teacher of many subjects, a farmer with a deep love for the Ankole Longhorn, a lover of music and a creator of sound, a patron of many associations and clubs, a man of culture, especially the Ankole culture, a student of nature and God's design, a very practical man, philosopher and avid reader, and until recently a very avid YouTube watcher. He was unoriginal. There will never be any like him. What he taught. It's never too late to start doing the right thing. What's down versus what's up. Ekibuka waggulu, tega wansi. Use your intellect to help people on the ground. No one knows everything, and no one knows nothing. The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. If you want to run very fast, run alone. But if you want to go very far, run with others. The future belongs to the organized, and the better future to the better organized. Spend time on the most important aspects of life, especially time with others, rather than being ruled by clocks or watches. People have lost time for others and for enjoying the wealth they have. The fresh air, the sunshine. People have lost time for this. Now, what the last 2 weeks were of his life for me. Ooh. Yesu, oh Musa. spoken of his past. Many have spoken of his present. I will speak of the last 2 weeks of his life. Our last 14 days with him were a furnace, a true furnace, where I, Mami, and Brenda, and those who joined us later, Edna, Shiba, Cynthia, were tested to our cause. We had never gone through any training like this. I had read of the US Navy SEALs, considered by many as one of the most elite soldiers in the world. They have 5.5 days of intense training, also known as Hell Week. It is the hardest and most grueling week in their training. In the few or many years of my life, these 14 days were that for me, and I was not a Navy SEAL. To see your father look at you, see your father look at you and tell you the words you fear the most. Not with his mouth, but with his eyes, and in Daddy's case, with that one eye, is one of the hardest things I have experienced. To come day after day and see that look, that face that carried a smile and hearty laughter, be the same face that told you his last words and love, all wrapped in one, was truly a tough one. But we had help, and it carried us through. Who was this help, you wonder? It was not a man, no medicine, no intellect. None of that, nothing. It was the one and only Almighty God. He used men, medicine, and intellect, as well as time, to show us who is truly in charge. Even to the end, he did not forsake us. Even to this very moment, he has not forsaken us. We had our own motto during this time. It was something we learned during one of our many morning devotionals. God is with us and God is working. My observations and conclusions. 1. In the end, all roads lead to God. No matter who you are or what you do, it begins and ends with Him. 2. Family is God's first choice for the people you should think with, plan with, and do most of the things in this world with. Taking the best responsibility for families and work, in whatever way you can, is more important than being perfect. 4. Who my father was, I cannot be, at least not by myself. That's a task for all of us standing here, and some of you listening to the sound of my voice. He believed that everyone was unique, and it's that differentness, that made us all special. In his own eulogy to the late Jacob Olanya, he wrote, and now we're going to read to him. He has left a gap in our lives in many positions. The challenge for all alive, which is all of us, the challenge for all alive is to fill that gap in a small or big way. Fill his gap not as him, but as you in your own way. Let us do our best to add to his foundation. Let us add to his ideals. Let us improve where he left. Let us achieve his vision to which he devoted his life. Let us make the best of what Elly Tumwine stood for. 5. 2 stories, different endings. One famous story that he has told was one of his mother, and how before she got operated, she said a prayer. She whispered a prayer. And the prayer was this: God, if it is your intention that my work is done, then take me. But if you think I still have purpose in this world, then allow me to live to do it. I assume he said the prayer the same way. He fought the good fight, he finished the race, he kept the faith. Second story, the one of his father. Just like the one I'm telling of my father. The day he was admitted to university in Makerere, 2 things happened. One, the boom, as it was called that time, was scrapped off, or the facilitation that you get from government for university. But the real kicker, the real hard one, was the day he got his acceptance letter to Makerere, was the day he got another letter that his father had died. Famous in the Tumwine household is what he said next: I will manage. Now, history has repeated itself, but differently this time. I was there, and I saw it happen. And this is what I told him. We will manage. We will manage. We saw what it meant for him to do it alone. I think that was the essence of why he did what he did for us. That he would never have to answer the same, that we would never have to say, I will manage. But he built in us the we will manage. Daddy told we were not just father and son, we were friends. Real friends. One time we failed to find accommodation. I remember it was in Nairobi, one of those late night trips from the farm. And we found only one place open with one bed. And we shared it. And what will never leave my mind or heart is, instead of sleeping, we start a conversation. We're all in vests and boxers, and don't think of the image, just focus on the story. So then we start to look at photos of the cows we had taken from the farm. And then the stories just kept going. That day I experienced the love that I've only dreamt of, that I've only wished for, that I've always worked for. That day, I saw my father be my friend. It's that look. It's that look that I later learned to read. The look that you'd give me, and you'd know what's happening. The last words he was able to say. I had gone into the room. He was seated looking up, and in the Elly Tumwine fashion, we started talking about things like it was a regular day at the farm. Did we do this? We have to do this, we have to do this. Go and do this. And I looked at him and said, does he see where he is? Does he know what's happening? And to him, it wasn't about what's happening, it's what you're going to do after. That's the training he always prepared us for. And that's the training that I think will carry us through. It is not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. It is how you respond to it. When I left, as I was leaving, I told him, Daddy, I love you. He said, I love you too. When I came back with Mommy, he was trying to catch his breath, but was still able to talk. And then he asked for his phone. And Mommy said, but you're not strong enough. Why don't you tell him what you want to tell him? He said, give me my phone. And I saw him put in his password. And I knew that he knew that things would go worse. I remember Mommy, we both said, Daddy, we can do it for you. He said, Data. And he said, this man is still in there. And he put in, then paused. And I saw him struggle. I saw his face pause. And I looked at him and took it away. I later knew for what that was. Daddy had a tablet where he writes his thoughts, his ideas, his dreams. His newfound acquired knowledge about how to want to share with the world. That's where he was opening for me. I told Mommy, I said, you know, you told me this, but I'm figuring out what it was for. And in that moment, I knew that the work had begun. My work was one, my job was one, and I would prepare them for what's about to come. Because he did not let me down. All the sleepless nights, the arguments, the laughing, the sharing of ideas between father and son. They were not for nothing. They were for something, and something has come. The time has come. The difference is, where he was alone, I am with many. And I think that's the biggest legacy for him. The biggest legacy for him is where he was alone, I am with many. My siblings, my mother, I will be with you. We will manage. He showed us how. Now it's time to show him off. It's time to allow God to show people. But the person who sees far, the person who decides to rid himself of pleasures for now, to avoid other people suffering in the future, that's who our Father was. That's who your husband was. That's who he'll always be. Not just to me, but to all of you. A man unlike any other. I end with a verse from the Bible. Actually two, but I will read only one in the interest of time. The takeaway one, which I will not read here, is Proverbs chapter 4, verse 1 to 25. The one I read here is 1 Chronicles 28, verse 9. And it reads,